What up, guys? It's me, the Hogger himself. Just keep it simple and sweet here. We're gonna play some 25-50 cent today on the site known as Bovada. We get dealt some good cards against some good players. Watch as we either punt or make a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. We get dealt a premium in this first hand of the day. This guy's been opening this middle position. Guy's been opening really any two cards, so I decided to click back that 3-bet on the heavier side. We see a more than favorable flop with 9-3-4 rainbow. Just clicking about half pot. I get him to call, and the turn doesn't really bring anything. It's going to be the 10 of hearts. And I bet pretty small because this guy's range is very, very wide. I've seen him win at showdown with not with bad holdings. Like he's won with 2-pair, and he's won with these whack-ass straights, but it's with very, cards that shouldn't be there, like 6-4 off or whatever. So I just don't think he could be very strong on this board. There's not really too many draws. I guess there's a backdoor flush draw and a straight draw now, but I'm kind of just trying to keep whatever pair he has, maybe he has top pair weak kicker, something like that. So I think this bet really does it. It's just not enough to get him out, and it's just the appropriate sizing not to fold off those weaker hands. So he does decide to call, and that's when we see the 5 roll off. So even that backdoor flush draw miss. I guess a couple of straights get in there, but the straights that get there, they were all gut shots. I think they would have folded turn. But so I'm just kind of thinking, man, this is like the perfect sizing as I bet it, because it's like my store is kind of unbelievable. It's just, what could I have here? I 4-bet. Ace king would be bluffing here, ace queen would be bluffing here. I guess that I have overpairs, but then he decides to do something crazy. He just jams all in, and let's just not get fancy here. We have an overpair, and there's absolutely no way he's not 4-betting kings or aces, so we're going to have the best overpair. What this dude was just repping doesn't really make any sense. The board didn't really change, so I call, and this dude called me down with 5s, and this really just pisses me off. This is the type of behavior that I feel like just will never get rewarded unless I'm playing. This is just going to happen though. You face these players, you got to deal with it. So this is a weird hand. So I lost $40 in that queen's hand. So I add on for 30 more in this ace king hand, and I face a limp, and so I just raise a little bit more than I normally would. We get a call in a big blind, and then get this, we get a back jam from early position. Yeah, I just hate these spots. I hate back jams because never is it something like ace king. It's always going to be aces. It's always going to be kings. It's always going to be queens. If they're doing it with jacks or below, they're stupid, but it's going to be a premium hand. At the end of the day, it's going to be a premium hand. But this hand's just too good not to fold. And even the big blind, he comes along for a call. We see a flop. So when we see a flop like this, man, it's hard not to think we're not best. So I bet pretty small here, just trying to get those pocket pairs to call. And then we see a pretty sizable, just monstrous raise. And I don't know what to think. I know one thing for sure, and it's just that they're never bluffing here. Given the fact that I 3-bet, given the fact that there's an ace. So I'm thinking maybe there's like a combo draw. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how I could fold. I think there's a fold here, and I think good players find it. I think good players find this fold. But man, am I not good enough to find it. I hate it. I tank. Doesn't even matter if the guy in front of me calls. Y'all see that. But it's just, and then eventually I'm like, you know what? Throw my whole stack. I jam a whole stack in there. And yeah, pocket 5s just does it again. We can't hold on. We lose another like $40 pot. So already down like $82. Add on for the last bit of change I have, which was $35. Go ahead and squeeze here to $5. Probably should have went a little bit more with a very nice ace queen. They get 4-bet, and this guy reopens pot with a all in, and I'm just prompted with the situation right here because I would call a normal 4-bet with ace queen suited here. I would. You could argue that I shouldn't, because the hands that are 4-betting probably have me dominated. But in this specific game, things were a little crazy. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to call and hope this guy doesn't, rejam. But he doesn't. We get in there scotch-free, and we see a less than favorable flop. So he's going to go ahead and check it over to me because he is the small blind. But we could go ahead and rule out aces because he definitely would have jammed when that guy reopened pot. But, I mean, you could argue that I should go ahead and try to get this dude out. Because there's really, I'm relying on a gut shot. But this guy's never folding the stuff he's 4-betting with. This connected hard with his range. So, obviously, I'm going to go ahead and check it on over, and the turn just does not bring any help whatsoever. So he's gonna end up checking here as well. And then it's like, do you bluff now? He probably doesn't have much. Hell no. Look at my SPR. There's no way he's calling anything. But bada bink. So we just absolutely drill the 3-outer to get there. He doesn't have his beat. No way he has his beat. He's betting his flush draws on the turn. I mean, it's just, we have him here, baby. And he's don't even call. And no one, absolutely no one has his beat. So we take down this $83 pot, baby. Let's go. Ace queen. Nice. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We get it again. And we are going to 4-bet to a bit of a bigger sizing here. And this guy is going to come along for the call. And of course, we just see the flop of dreams. That top pair. So, you're probably looking at the screen, you're like, wow, that is like 25% of pot. That's how I like to play my flops top pair. Because in reality, I'm gonna have the ace like 80 or 70% of the time, and he knows that. But this is just giving him the pot odds to keep going. Maybe his pocket pairs are still ahead of my king queen suited, my king jack suited, whatever, a queen jack suited. This is a perfect the price for him to keep going. And the turn is pretty much a break. I don't really think he's gonna have too many sixes. He could, but I opt to go ahead and check here. This is great because it really underreps my hand. The hands that I was quote unquote bluffing with on the flop, this is how I would play them. So he's more likely to pay me off pretty light. But the king of spades rolls off as the river, and he's gonna check again. And at this point, we can't be really worried about 6. He'd be too scared about missing value with a 6. And I get really greedy. I think this is kind of stupid because that king is a whole lot me. Even those hands I was bluffing with kind of get there. They kind of make a pair. They have showdown value. So really the only thing I'm targeting here is an ace. So it's like, damn, you really can't call with any of his pocket pairs. And that's, he doesn't. He folds. So yeah, I think I missed out on a little bit of value if I just would have sliced down a bit. What is this hand doing in here? Ace-8 off in the small blind. It's going to go ahead and fold around to me. Just had to raise it up. I think, 99% of the time. Not 99, but a good bit of time. I'll have the best hand, but he opts to call. And he just fires out here. So kind of hard for me to have something here, given the fact that my range, I'm definitely not going to have a 4 most times, unless it's 4-5 suited, or not even, maybe I'd limp in there with 4-3 suited. It's either a 4 or a 9 or a pocket pair I could call with this reasonably with. However, I'm a madman, so I call. 3 rolls out, face another bet. I take a deep breath. I'm like, man, I'm in a blind v blind battle, and I'm the one out of position. It's never a good spot. Thinking about how we went down 80, made back 50 of that, down 30 right now. And it's just like, dude, I don't want to keep digging myself a hole here, But then I started thinking about stories. I think about the stories my grandpa told me. They made sense, They followed this chronological sequence of events. One led to another, this cause and effect that followed the logical laws of this world. This is very illogical, I get the 2/3 pot bet if he has a 4. However, this over pot bet, it's so hard. It is so hard for you to get called by worse here, and he knows that. It's so hard for you not to scare anything worse off. I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense. This story that he's telling just doesn't make any sense. So sometimes I like to treat my ace highs like a pair of twos. I have a little bit of showdown value, right? And I don't think this 3 helped him out a little bit. So I'm like, well, I think I could call here, and hopefully he checks on the river. So that's what I do. I elect to call, and slow down he does not. So, when he sees the 10 and I check, he's just like, hell yeah, brother, $10. And most people see $10, but you know what I see? I see a hiccup. I see a jump in this story. So why all this strength, right? Why all this strength, and all of a sudden you're going a third, a little bit, or not third, 2/3, maybe a little bit more than 2/3. That doesn't make any sense. Fake stories, ladies and gentlemen. This is coming from one who used to make them up all the time for a shit or a giggle. Fake stories have these little bits of details that just don't really add up. If you pay attention, if you really listen, if you really watch, and you remember, you could kind of be like, yo, this dude's freaking lying. That's what's going off. Alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells. This doesn't make any sense. Why would he size down? His whole previous betting pattern was because he was overvaluing 4s. Or at least that's the story he was telling. And if he all of a sudden thought that maybe, he could be getting out kicked with a 4, or maybe I had a set, he wouldn't be betting at all. So I decided to call. And what do you know? We won. Hell yeah. That's $17 in my pocket. Yeah, that's going to end the video, and you guys may be thinking, wow, what a great hand to end off on. So some footage got corrupted, LOL. Just kidding. I totally forgot to record it because I was so mad. Ended up getting it in with pocket kings, and because the pre-flop action was so weird, this guy basically was committed with pocket 7s. He hits a set on the turn, and I lose $100. Just like that, pre-flop. Yeah, that one's going to end it. I hate to kind of skip over that last one, but I really don't want to revisit that. Yeah, just don't have the footage for it. But yeah, so we are going to end up down about $107 on this session. It's kind of tough. I feel like we played pretty good in this one. I didn't really hate how I played. It just got cooler a little bit. That's just going to happen. It's good to get it out when we're playing 25-50 cent rather than a game a little bit bigger than that. But yeah, that's going to end this video. Thank you guys for tuning in, and stick around for another video or two, will ya?